Excuse me, could you tell me where the nearest ATM is? Excuse me, could you tell me where the nearest ATM is?
Excuse me, could you tell me where the nearest ATM is? Excuse me, could you tell me where the nearest ATM is?
Could you please recommend a good local restaurant? Could you please recommend a good local restaurant?
Could you please recommend a good local restaurant? Could you please recommend a good local restaurant?
I would like to book a table for two for tonight. I would like to book a table for two for tonight.
I would like to book a table for two for tonight. I would like to book a table for two for tonight.
Could you tell me the price of this item? Could you tell me the price of this item?
Could you tell me the price of this item? Could you tell me the price of this item?
Do you accept credit card payments? Do you accept credit card payments?
Do you accept credit card payments? Do you accept credit card payments?
Could you please help me with my luggage? Could you please help me with my luggage?
Could you please help me with my luggage? Could you please help me with my luggage?
Can you recommend a good hotel in the area? Can you recommend a good hotel in the area?
Can you recommend a good hotel in the area? Can you recommend a good hotel in the area?
Excuse me, where is the restroom located? Excuse me, where is the restroom located?
Excuse me, where is the restroom located? Excuse me, where is the restroom located?
Could you please call a taxi for me? Could you please call a taxi for me?
Could you please call a taxi for me? Could you please call a taxi for me?
How far is the airport from here? How far is the airport from here?
How far is the airport from here? How far is the airport from here?
Could you tell me what time the train departs? Could you tell me what time the train departs?
Could you tell me what time the train departs? Could you tell me what time the train departs?
I would like to purchase a SIM card for my phone. I would like to purchase a SIM card for my phone.
I would like to purchase a SIM card for my phone. I would like to purchase a SIM card for my phone.
Is there a shuttle service to the hotel? Is there a shuttle service to the hotel?
Is there a shuttle service to the hotel? Is there a shuttle service to the hotel?
Could you please recommend a good tour guide? Could you please recommend a good tour guide?
Could you please recommend a good tour guide? Could you please recommend a good tour guide?
Do you have any vegetarian options on the menu? Do you have any vegetarian options on the menu?
Do you have any vegetarian options on the menu? Do you have any vegetarian options on the menu?
What is the checkout time for the hotel? What is the checkout time for the hotel?
What is the checkout time for the hotel? What is the checkout time for the hotel?
I would like to change some foreign currency into the local currency. I would like to change some foreign currency into the local currency.
I would like to change some foreign currency into the local currency. I would like to change some foreign currency into the local currency.
Do I need a visa to enter this country? Do I need a visa to enter this country?
Do I need a visa to enter this country? Do I need a visa to enter this country?
Could you recommend some local attractions to visit? Could you recommend some local attractions to visit?
Could you recommend some local attractions to visit? Could you recommend some local attractions to visit?
What is the best way to get to the city center from here? What is the best way to get to the city center from here?
What is the best way to get to the city center from here? What is the best way to get to the city center from here?
Could you please provide me with a map of the city? Could you please provide me with a map of the city?
Could you please provide me with a map of the city? Could you please provide me with a map of the city?
Is there a nearby pharmacy where I can buy some medicine? Is there a nearby pharmacy where I can buy some medicine?
Is there a nearby pharmacy where I can buy some medicine? Is there a nearby pharmacy where I can buy some medicine?
What is the weather like today? What is the weather like today?
What is the weather like today? What is the weather like today?
Do you have any recommendations for a good place to go shopping? Do you have any recommendations for a good place to go shopping?
Do you have any recommendations for a good place to go shopping? Do you have any recommendations for a good place to go shopping?
Can I have a receipt for this purchase? Can I have a receipt for this purchase?
Can I have a receipt for this purchase? Can I have a receipt for this purchase?
What is the distance between here and the nearest train station? What is the distance between here and the nearest train station?
What is the distance between here and the nearest train station? What is the distance between here and the nearest train station?
What is the local currency exchange rate? What is the local currency exchange rate?
What is the local currency exchange rate? What is the local currency exchange rate?
Is there a nearby car rental service? Is there a nearby car rental service?
Is there a nearby car rental service? Is there a nearby car rental service?
What is the best time to visit this city? What is the best time to visit this city?
What is the best time to visit this city? What is the best time to visit this city?
What is the hotel's policy on cancellation? What is the hotel's policy on cancellation?
What is the hotel's policy on cancellations? What is the hotel's policy on cancellations?
Could you please recommend a good local pub or bar? Could you please recommend a good local pub or bar?
Could you please recommend a good local pub or bar? Could you please recommend a good local pub or bar?
What is the price range for meals in this area? What is the price range for meals in this area?
What is the price range for meals in this area? What is the price range for meals in this area?
Is it safe to travel alone in this city? Is it safe to travel alone in this city?
Is it safe to travel alone in this city? Is it safe to travel alone in this city?
What are the local customs and traditions I should be aware of? What are the local customs and traditions I should be aware of?
What are the local customs and traditions I should be aware of? What are the local customs and traditions I should be aware of?
Could you recommend a good place to see the sunset? Could you recommend a good place to see the sunset?
Could you recommend a good place to see the sunset? Could you recommend a good place to see the sunset?
What is the transportation fare for buses and trains in this area? What is the transportation fare for buses and trains in this area?
What is the transportation fare for buses and trains in this area? What is the transportation fare for buses and trains in this area?
What is the local language spoken here? What is the local language spoken here?
What is the local language spoken here? What is the local language spoken here?
What is the best way to get to the airport from here? What is the best way to get to the airport from here?
What is the best way to get to the airport from here? What is the best way to get to the airport from here?
Is there a dress code for visiting certain attractions or restaurants? Is there a dress code for visiting certain attractions or restaurants?
Is there a dress code for visiting certain attractions or restaurants? Is there a dress code for visiting certain attractions or restaurants?
Can I use my mobile phone here with my home country's network? Can I use my mobile phone here with my home country's network?
Can I use my mobile phone here with my home country's network? Can I use my mobile phone here with my home country's network?
Is there a local festival or event happening during my stay? Is there a local festival or event happening during my stay?
Is there a local festival or event happening during my stay? Is there a local festival or event happening during my stay?
What is the local time zone in this area? What is the local time zone in this area?
What is the local time zone in this area? What is the local time zone in this area?
What is the best way to get around the city? What is the best way to get around the city?
What is the best way to get around the city? What is the best way to get around the city?
Is there a local museum or gallery worth visiting? Is there a local museum or gallery worth visiting?
Is there a local museum or gallery worth visiting? Is there a local museum or gallery worth visiting?
Can I pay with a foreign currency, or do I need to exchange it first? Can I pay with a foreign currency, or do I need to exchange it first?
Can I pay with a foreign currency or do I need to exchange it first? Can I pay with a foreign currency or do I need to exchange it first?
Is there a public Wi-Fi network available in this area? Is there a public Wi-Fi network available in this area?
Is there a public Wi-Fi network available in this area? Is there a public Wi-Fi network available in this area?
Are there any local customs or etiquette rules I should be aware of? Are there any local customs or etiquette rules I should be aware of?
Are there any local customs or etiquette rules I should be aware of? Are there any local customs or etiquette rules I should be aware of?
What is the price range for souvenirs in this area? What is the price range for souvenirs in this area?
What is the price range for souvenirs in this area? What is the price range for souvenirs in this area?
Can you recommend a good local park or outdoor attraction? Can you recommend a good local park or outdoor attraction?
Can you recommend a good local park or outdoor attraction? Can you recommend a good local park or outdoor attraction?
What is the local emergency phone number? What is the local emergency phone number?
What is the local emergency phone number? What is the local emergency phone number?
What is the typical tipping etiquette in this area? What is the typical tipping etiquette in this area?
What is the typical tipping etiquette in this area? What is the typical tipping etiquette in this area?
Are there any local dishes or foods I should try during my stay? Are there any local dishes or foods I should try during my stay?
Are there any local dishes or foods I should try during my stay? Are there any local dishes or foods I should try during my stay?
What is the local public transportation system like? What is the local public transportation system like?
What is the local public transportation system like? What is the local public transportation system like?
Can I rent a bicycle or scooter to get around the city? Can I rent a bicycle or scooter to get around the city?
Can I rent a bicycle or scooter to get around the city? Can I rent a bicycle or scooter to get around the city?
What is the local nightlife scene like? What is the local nightlife scene like?
What is the local nightlife scene like? What is the local nightlife scene like?
Are there any local museums or historical sites worth visiting? Are there any local museums or historical sites worth visiting?
Are there any local museums or historical sites worth visiting? Are there any local museums or historical sites worth visiting?
What is the local weather forecast for the next few days? What is the local weather forecast for the next few days?
What is the local weather forecast for the next few days? What is the local weather forecast for the next few days?
Can I purchase tickets for local attractions in advance? Can I purchase tickets for local attractions in advance?
Can I purchase tickets for local attractions in advance? Can I purchase tickets for local attractions in advance?
What is the local currency exchange rate for my home country's currency? What is the local currency exchange rate for my home country's currency?
What is the local currency exchange rate for my home country's currency? What is the local currency exchange rate for my home country's currency?
What is the best way to get to the city from the airport? What is the best way to get to the city from the airport?
What is the best way to get to the city from the airport? What is the best way to get to the city from the airport?
Are there any local festivals or holidays during my stay? Are there any local festivals or holidays during my stay?
Are there any local festivals or holidays during my stay? Are there any local festivals or holidays during my stay?
Can you recommend a good local market or shopping area? Can you recommend a good local market or shopping area?
Can you recommend a good local market or shopping area? Can you recommend a good local market or shopping area?
Is there a nearby post office where I can send mail? Is there a nearby post office where I can send mail?
Is there a nearby post office where I can send mail? Is there a nearby post office where I can send mail?
What is the typical dress code for this area? What is the typical dress code for this area?
What is the typical dress code for this area? What is the typical dress code for this area?
Are there any local parks or nature reserves worth visiting? Are there any local parks or nature reserves worth visiting?
Are there any local parks or nature reserves worth visiting? Are there any local parks or nature reserves worth visiting?
What is the local voltage and plug type for electronic devices? What is the local voltage and plug type for electronic devices?
What is the local voltage and plug type for electronic devices? What is the local voltage and plug type for electronic devices?
Can I use my credit card at local establishments? Can I use my credit card at local establishments?
Can I use my credit card at local establishments? Can I use my credit card at local establishments?
What is the local public transportation schedule and frequency? What is the local public transportation schedule and frequency?
What is the local public transportation schedule and frequency? What is the local public transportation schedule and frequency?
Can you recommend a good local theater or performing arts venue? Can you recommend a good local theater or performing arts venue?
Can you recommend a good local theater or performing arts venue? Can you recommend a good local theater or performing arts venue?
What is the local cuisine like, and are there any must-try dishes? What is the local cuisine like, and are there any must-try dishes?
What is the local cuisine like, and are there any must-try dishes? What is the local cuisine like, and are there any must-try dishes?
Are there any local sports teams or events worth attending? Are there any local sports teams or events worth attending?
Are there any local sports teams or events worth attending? Are there any local sports teams or events worth attending?
What is the local policy on smoking in public places? What is the local policy on smoking in public places?
What is the local policy on smoking in public places? What is the local policy on smoking in public places?
Can I bring my pet with me during my travels? Can I bring my pet with me during my travels?
Can I bring my pet with me during my travels? Can I bring my pet with me during my travels?
Are there any local art galleries or exhibitions worth visiting? Are there any local art galleries or exhibitions worth visiting?
Are there any local art galleries or exhibitions worth visiting? Are there any local art galleries or exhibitions worth visiting?
What is the local policy on alcohol consumption in public places? What is the local policy on alcohol consumption in public places?
What is the local policy on alcohol consumption in public places? What is the local policy on alcohol consumption in public places?
Can you recommend a good local coffee shop or cafe? Can you recommend a good local coffee shop or cafe?
Can you recommend a good local coffee shop or cafe? Can you recommend a good local coffee shop or cafe?
What is the local policy on waste disposal and recycling? What is the local policy on waste disposal and recycling?
What is the local policy on waste disposal and recycling? What is the local policy on waste disposal and recycling?
Can you recommend a good local cooking class or culinary tour? Can you recommend a good local cooking class or culinary tour?
Can you recommend a good local cooking class or culinary tour? Can you recommend a good local cooking class or culinary tour?
What is the local policy on public nudity or dress codes for beaches? What is the local policy on public nudity or dress codes for beaches?
What is the local policy on public nudity or dress codes for beaches? What is the local policy on public nudity or dress codes for beaches?
Can you recommend a good local brewery or winery? Can you recommend a good local brewery or winery?
Can you recommend a good local brewery or winery? Can you recommend a good local brewery or winery?
What is the local policy on carrying firearms or weapons? What is the local policy on carrying firearms or weapons?
What is the local policy on carrying firearms or weapons? What is the local policy on carrying firearms or weapons?
What is the local policy on smoking in restaurants or cafes? What is the local policy on smoking in restaurants or cafes?
What is the local policy on smoking in restaurants or cafes? What is the local policy on smoking in restaurants or cafes?
What is the local policy on wearing face masks in public? What is the local policy on wearing face masks in public?
What is the local policy on wearing face masks in public? What is the local policy on wearing face masks in public?
Can you recommend a good local festival or cultural celebration? Can you recommend a good local festival or cultural celebration?
Can you recommend a good local festival or cultural celebration? Can you recommend a good local festival or cultural celebration?
What is the local policy on carrying large amounts of cash? What is the local policy on carrying large amounts of cash?
What is the local policy on carrying large amounts of cash? What is the local policy on carrying large amounts of cash?
Can you recommend a good local music festival or concert? Can you recommend a good local music festival or concert?
Can you recommend a good local music festival or concert? Can you recommend a good local music festival or concert?
What is the local policy on carrying or using drones? What is the local policy on carrying or using drones?
What is the local policy on carrying or using drones? What is the local policy on carrying or using drones?
Can you recommend a good local historical walking tour or sightseeing tour? Can you recommend a good local historical walking tour or sightseeing tour?
Can you recommend a good local historical walking tour or sightseeing tour? Can you recommend a good local historical walking tour or sightseeing tour?
What is the local policy on photography or videography in public places? What is the local policy on photography or videography in public places?
What is the local policy on photography or videography in public places? What is the local policy on photography or videography in public places?
Can you recommend a good local cultural museum or exhibition? Can you recommend a good local cultural museum or exhibition?
Can you recommend a good local cultural museum or exhibition? Can you recommend a good local cultural museum or exhibition?
What is the local policy on public displays of religious beliefs or symbols? What is the local policy on public displays of religious beliefs or symbols?
What is the local policy on public displays of religious beliefs or symbols? What is the local policy on public displays of religious beliefs or symbols?
What is the local policy on camping or overnight stays in public places? What is the local policy on camping or overnight stays in public places?
What is the local policy on camping or overnight stays in public places? What is the local policy on camping or overnight stays in public places?
Can you recommend a good local bike tour or rental service? Can you recommend a good local bike tour or rental service?
Can you recommend a good local bike tour or rental service? Can you recommend a good local bike tour or rental service?
What is the local policy on public transportation during holidays or peak travel seasons? What is the local policy on public transportation during holidays or peak travel seasons?
What is the local policy on public transportation during holidays or peak travel seasons? What is the local policy on public transportation during holidays or peak travel seasons?
Can you recommend a good cooking ingredient or food market? Can you recommend a good cooking ingredient or food market?
Can you recommend a good cooking ingredient or food market? Can you recommend a good cooking ingredient or food market?
What is the local policy on driving or renting a car as a foreigner? What is the local policy on driving or renting a car as a foreigner?
What is the local policy on driving or renting a car as a foreigner? What is the local policy on driving or renting a car as a foreigner?
What is the local policy on water usage or conservation? What is the local policy on water usage or conservation?
What is the local policy on water usage or conservation? What is the local policy on water usage or conservation?
What is the local policy on accessibility for people with disabilities? What is the local policy on accessibility for people with disabilities?
What is the local policy on accessibility for people with disabilities? What is the local policy on accessibility for people with disabilities?
Can you recommend a good chocolate or candy shop? Can you recommend a good chocolate or candy shop?
Can you recommend a good chocolate or candy shop? Can you recommend a good chocolate or candy shop?
What is the local policy on outdoor grilling or barbecuing in public places? What is the local policy on outdoor grilling or barbecuing in public places?
What is the local policy on outdoor grilling or barbecuing in public places? What is the local policy on outdoor grilling or barbecuing in public places?
Can you recommend a good cheese or dairy farm? Can you recommend a good cheese or dairy farm?
Can you recommend a good cheese or dairy farm? Can you recommend a good cheese or dairy farm?
What is the local policy on gambling or casinos? What is the local policy on gambling or casinos?
What is the local policy on gambling or casinos? What is the local policy on gambling or casinos?
What is the local policy on air pollution and emissions? What is the local policy on air pollution and emissions?
What is the local policy on air pollution and emissions? What is the local policy on air pollution and emissions?
Can you recommend a good pottery or ceramics studio? Can you recommend a good pottery or ceramics studio?
Can you recommend a good pottery or ceramics studio? Can you recommend a good pottery or ceramics studio?
What is the local policy on public demonstrations or protests? What is the local policy on public demonstrations or protests?
What is the local policy on public demonstrations or protests? What is the local policy on public demonstrations or protests?
Can you recommend a good local seafood market or fishing village? Can you recommend a good local seafood market or fishing village?
Can you recommend a good local seafood market or fishing village? Can you recommend a good local seafood market or fishing village?
What is the local policy on public smoking or vaping? What is the local policy on public smoking or vaping?
What is the local policy on public smoking or vaping? What is the local policy on public smoking or vaping?
What is the local policy on public safety and emergency services? What is the local policy on public safety and emergency services?
What is the local policy on public safety and emergency services? What is the local policy on public safety and emergency services?
Can you recommend a good local fruit picking or farm experience? Can you recommend a good local fruit picking or farm experience?
Can you recommend a good local fruit picking or farm experience? Can you recommend a good local fruit picking or farm experience?
What is the local policy on cultural heritage preservation or historic landmark? What is the local policy on cultural heritage preservation or historic landmark?
What is the local policy on cultural heritage preservation or historic landmarks? What is the local policy on cultural heritage preservation or historic landmarks?
Can you recommend a good local flower market or garden? Can you recommend a good local flower market or garden?
Can you recommend a good local flower market or garden? Can you recommend a good local flower market or garden?
What is the local policy on fireworks or pyrotechnic? What is the local policy on fireworks or pyrotechnic?
What is the local policy on fireworks or pyrotechnics? What is the local policy on fireworks or pyrotechnics?
What is the local policy on public drinking or alcohol consumption? What is the local policy on public drinking or alcohol consumption?
What is the local policy on public drinking or alcohol consumption? What is the local policy on public drinking or alcohol consumption?
Can you recommend a good local fish market or seafood restaurant? Can you recommend a good local fish market or seafood restaurant?
Can you recommend a good local fish market or seafood restaurant? Can you recommend a good local fish market or seafood restaurant?
What is the local policy on public access to historical sites or landmarks? What is the local policy on public access to historical sites or landmarks?
What is the local policy on public access to historical sites or landmarks? What is the local policy on public access to historical sites or landmarks?
What is the local policy on public access to natural wonders or scenic areas? What is the local policy on public access to natural wonders or scenic areas?
What is the local policy on public access to natural wonders or scenic areas? What is the local policy on public access to natural wonders or scenic areas?
Can you recommend a good local street food or night market? Can you recommend a good local street food or night market?
Can you recommend a good local street food or night market? Can you recommend a good local street food or night market?
What is the local policy on public access to cultural or historical museums? What is the local policy on public access to cultural or historical museums?
What is the local policy on public access to cultural or historical museums? What is the local policy on public access to cultural or historical museums?
What is the local policy on public access to zoos, aquariums, or animal parks? What is the local policy on public access to zoos, aquariums, or animal parks?
What is the local policy on public access to zoos, aquariums, or animal parks? What is the local policy on public access to zoos, aquariums, or animal parks?
Can you recommend a good local amusement park or theme park? Can you recommend a good local amusement park or theme park?
Can you recommend a good local amusement park or theme park? Can you recommend a good local amusement park or theme park?